At the height of the Cold War, the world wasn't just divided by borders or ideologies. It was divided by paranoia. Two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, were locked in a staring contest where a single blink could mean the end of civilization. Missiles were pointed, submarines were prowling, and spy planes were slicing through the upper layers of the atmosphere in silence. Every day felt like it could be the day someone pressed the wrong button. And in that chaos, there was one aircraft that didn't just fail its mission, it nearly triggered World War III. This is the story of the fighter jet so bad, so poorly timed, so catastrophically mishandled, that it turned a routine reconnaissance flight into an international nightmare. The U-2, the so-called angel that fell from the heavens and almost set the world on fire. It all started with a problem. By the late 1950s, the United States needed eyes on the Soviet Union. Satellite technology wasn't reliable yet, so Washington turned to the skies. Lockheed's brilliant engineer, Clarence Kelly Johnson, came up with a plane that could fly higher than anything else on Earth, over 70,000 feet. The logic was simple. If you can fly higher than enemy fighters and missiles, you're invisible. The CIA loved it. Eisenhower approved it. And soon the U-2 was streaking across the globe, quietly photographing Soviet bases, missile silos, and nuclear test sites. For a while it worked. Soviet radar could detect the U-2, but they couldn't touch it. Each mission returned with film that reshaped US intelligence strategy. But the Soviets were watching, adapting, and waiting. And then on May 1st, 1960, everything went wrong. Francis Gary Powers, a skilled pilot, took off from a base in Pakistan. His mission, fly across the Soviet Union, photograph military installations, and land in Norway. It was routine. He'd done it dozens of times. But on that morning, Soviet air defenses were ready. The new SA-2 missile system was in position. And just as Powers crossed over Sverdlovsk, the unthinkable happened. The radar lock was confirmed, missiles were launched, and the supposedly untouchable U-2 was hit. The explosion shattered the aircraft. Pieces scattered across miles of farmland. Powers survived the fall, parachuting into enemy territory, where he was instantly captured. The CIA scrambled to contain the damage, feeding Eisenhower a pre-written story that said the plane was simply a weather research aircraft that had gone off course. The cover-up was bold and incredibly stupid, because within days, Nikita Khrushchev, the Soviet premier, revealed he had the pilot, the plane, and the film. The US was caught lying. Eisenhower was humiliated. The world watched as America, the self-proclaimed champion of freedom, was exposed for spying over Soviet territory. Khrushchev milked the situation for all it was worth. The Paris summit, a meeting that could have eased Cold War tensions, collapsed overnight. Diplomatic ties froze, and for the first time, the superpowers came face to face with how close they were to all-out war. All because of one plane that shouldn't have been there in the first place. But that was just the beginning. The U-2 incident didn't just kill diplomacy, it created a ripple effect that lasted decades. It made the Soviets accelerate their missile programs. It made the US double down on stealth technology. It even sparked an era of paranoia that fueled everything from nuclear brinkmanship to proxy wars. And you'd think the US would have learned its lesson. But no, barely 40 years later, history almost repeated itself. April 1st, 2001. The Cold War is long over, but the tension between America and China is quietly brewing. The US Navy's EP-3E Ares II, a massive surveillance aircraft, is flying just off the coast of China, collecting intelligence over the South China Sea. To the Americans, it's a standard recon mission. To the Chinese, it's a violation of their airspace. A Chinese J-8 fighter jet is scrambled to intercept it. Its pilot, Lieutenant Commander Wang Wei, is known for aggressive intercepts. The US crew, led by Lieutenant Shane Osborne, knows the routine. It's usually just a close pass, some posturing, and both sides go home. But this time, things get out of hand. Wei flies dangerously close, maybe just 20 feet away. The EP-3's crew can see the scratches on his canopy. The fighter rocks side to side, a show of dominance. Then in a split second, disaster strikes. The J-8 clips the EP-3's propeller. The Chinese jet breaks apart instantly, plunging into the ocean. Wang Wei is killed. The American plane, crippled and losing altitude fast, starts spiraling toward the sea. Osborne wrestles the controls, barely stabilizing the aircraft. He knows there's only one option. They have to land, but there's nowhere safe to go. The nearest airfield? Hainan Island, Chinese territory. The crew destroys sensitive data and crash lands the EP-3 on the island's runway, surrounded within minutes by Chinese soldiers. The world wakes up to breaking news. A U.S. spy plane has collided with a Chinese fighter jet and made an emergency landing in China. Beijing is furious. Washington is scrambling. For 11 excruciating days, the crew is detained while both nations exchange threats, accusations, and denials. The situation is so delicate that one wrong statement from either side could have reignited the Cold War, this time in the Pacific. Eventually, after a carefully worded letter of regret from the U.S., China releases the crew. But the damage is done. Trust evaporates. Military-to-military relations freeze, and the wreckage of that EP-3 becomes a bargaining chip in the power game that defines U.S.-China relations for years to come. What's ironic is that both the U-2 and the EP-3 were never designed for combat. They were built to avoid it, to see without being seen. But in trying to do that, they forced the world to stare straight into the consequences of failure. Each time, one malfunction, one pilot error, one lie turned a mission into a diplomatic bombshell. These weren't just technical failures, they were human ones. Arrogance, overconfidence, and the illusion of control. The idea that flying a few thousand feet higher or faster would make a nation untouchable. But the skies don't care about politics. And when metal meets ego, gravity always wins. Both the U-2 and the EP-3 stories expose something no politician wanted to admit, that even in an age of billion-dollar technology and global intelligence networks, it only takes one aircraft, one wrong maneuver, one ego to drag the planet to the edge. After the 1960 disaster, the United States tried to rebuild its image, but the shadow of that crash hung over everything. For years, every Soviet diplomat brought it up in meetings. Every negotiation began with that smirk. "We remember your spy." The propaganda was relentless. The Soviets painted powers as the symbol of American arrogance. They even paraded the wreckage through Moscow, a twisted reminder that the sky wasn't America's playground anymore. Francis Gary Powers himself became a political pawn. Tried and sentenced in Moscow, he was eventually exchanged for captured Soviet spy Rudolf Abel, a trade that looked heroic on paper, but revealed how desperate both sides were to avoid escalating things further. In the end, the U-2 shootdown forced Washington to rethink how it gathered intelligence. It pushed the U.S. into the age of satellites, stealth, and drones. Every secret aircraft that came afterward, the SR-71 Blackbird, the F-117 Nighthawk, the B-2 Spirit, carried a bit of the U-2's DNA. Not as a triumph, but as a warning. And yet history never really ends. It just changes its backdrop. Fast forward to 2001, and the EP-3 collision played out almost the same way, just with different players. This time it wasn't the USSR, but China, a nation quickly rising, testing how far it could push America before someone blinked. The US called the collision an accident, China called it murder. Each side staged its outrage for the cameras while quietly trying to make sure it didn't spiral into something worse. The irony is that these bad jets, the ones that failed, ended up shaping the future more than the ones that succeeded. The U-2's downfall taught the world that surveillance has consequences. The EP-3 taught it again in a new century, where borders are digital as much as physical. Both incidents rewired how nations communicate, how they hide, and how they fight without ever firing a shot. But there's also a human side. Powers, the pilot who survived the U-2 crash, spent years under suspicion back home. People whispered that he should have died with his plane, that he'd betrayed his country by surviving. The reality was simple. He was a soldier following orders in a system that treated people like chess pieces. The EP-3 crew faced similar judgment. Dissected on talk shows, politicized by both sides, forgotten once the headlines faded. Every one of them lived with the knowledge that a single miscalculation had nearly rewritten history. And maybe that's what makes this story timeless. Because even today, decades later, the same game plays on. Surveillance drones skirt international borders. Fighter jets intercept them. Political statements are made in the skies above Taiwan, the Black Sea, the Arctic. The technology changes, but the tension doesn't. Everyone still believes their plane is the one that won't get shot down. Everyone still thinks they can fly just a little higher without consequence. But the truth is, every time an aircraft crosses that invisible line, it's rolling the dice with humanity itself. The U-2 didn't start World War III, but it came close enough to remind us what that world would look like. The EP-3 didn't reignite the Cold War, but it proved that even peace can be fragile when pride gets involved. So when people look back and laugh at the idea of a bad jet almost starting a world war, they're missing the point. It wasn't the jet, it was us. The engineers who believed physics could protect them from politics. The leaders who thought a cover story could outfly the truth. The pilots who trusted orders over instinct. In the end, these planes weren't villains. They were mirrors. They reflected every flaw in the system that built them. Arrogance, fear, control. And as long as those flaws exist, the next U-2, the next EP-3, or the next drone might already be out there, flying too close to the edge again. Because history doesn't warn in whispers. It screams through jet engines. And if we don't listen, one of them might just roar loud enough to start the war that all the others narrowly avoided. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's most dangerous near misses, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that uncover the hidden truths behind military technology, and drop a comment down below with your thoughts. Which aircraft do you think came closest to starting a global conflict? Your feedback keeps these stories flying.